This clip is brought to you by SaveWithConrad.com.
When Rick Steiner joins the traveling band of Crockett Promotions, very quickly he's put with Kevin Sullivan and Mike Rotunda, known as the Varsity Club. Plays off of everyone's amateur days.
Right.
But Kevin Sullivan's still somehow the devil. We'll talk about that another time. But Rick says that the Varsity Club was really Dusty's idea. What do you remember of the Varsity Club and how it came to be?
I loved it. And it was, you found a common denominator with talents that could tie them all together in a realistic way. It was a well thought out presentation. You know, Doc and Rotunda, eventually, Doc and Rotunda, who else was in that thing? Steiner. And then Sullivan was a coach.
Yeah.
Somewhat of the coach. So his devil worshiping didn't really affect the amateur issues. But you know, Sully was a good friend of Dusty.
Right.
And Dusty took care of him. And Sully's a good talker.
Yes.
When he was focused in where he wanted to go, he was brilliant at booking. So I thought the Varsity Club was spot on. I really enjoyed the presentation. I think it could have gone a lot farther than it did, but you got to be careful. How do you address the politics of the Varsity Club getting over with the Horsemen? Because everybody's fucking paranoid. It's amazing. Adults being so paranoid. And the irony is that the guys that were the most paranoid were the best workers. So it's, I'm not trying to stir up shit, but bottom line is that the way that leadership should have been was, hey, Rick, Lauren, Tully, Barry, whomever, guess what? I get some new opponents for you. And we're going to tear this son of a bitch up. You're going to draw nothing but money because these matches are going to be off the page. I don't know if that conversation ever occurred, but if it had been put in that way. So the bottom line of that would be, Conrad, and Horseman, you're going to make more money. Right. Oh, now you have my attention.
Let's talk a little bit about the turn. It's like a slow turn, I guess, but fans really start to get behind Rick Steiner. Of course, the Varsity Club are heels. They're bad guys. And then eventually fans get behind him and he becomes a babyface. Rick says he felt like the turn was done too quickly.
I agree. Yeah. It's the common issue that we can delve out of a lot of creative controversies. The execution of the turn was premature, too quick. And the more you let it play out, the more you let it get established in that particular role as those guys being heels, then, and only then, when the turn is made, it'll have equity, cachet. And that happened a lot in the Crockett era. And in this era especially, where things are changing on the fly, and you kind of wondered why. Why are we moving so forward on this so quickly? And I don't have a good reason for that. Just poor planning.
Well, one of the other things that's going to happen not too long after Rick joins the company is the whole Ted Turner buyout. I think Rick did an interview once where he said he and Sting had just gotten contracts, and then like 6 months later, there's a meeting where it's discussed that Crockett's going broke and he can't afford to honor their contracts. He winds up getting about 40% of his contract value in a buyout. And there's a general feeling of panic until Turner steps in, and then he gets a new contract, which is like double what Crockett was paying him. What do you remember about that transition and how it affected the talent, specifically like Rick Steiner?
Well, it was unprecedented for a lot of talents because they'd never lived through this type of transferring of power. You know, they were all these guys were hired by Cowboy. And then, you know, and I think that didn't work well for them. I don't know why exactly, but it did. Maybe Crockett had buyer's remorse that he bought the UWF. Could be. I don't know. But I think that it was just all those things were turning too quick. There was the unknown. These guys are young. They're in their 20s. They had young families, et cetera, and they didn't know what the future held. So I can understand their apprehensions. You know, we forget that this thing's not all fantasy.
Right.
You know, they have, like you, sitting there in your palatial estate, You got other responsibilities. You got family to take care of. You got a job to do, homestead to take care of, and you were the primary bread earner. So it was the unknown territory. I was very lucky in that transition, because my contract was basically done in the process of, as a part and parcel of the sale. So, I don't look at it as charity. I always looked at it like I could carry my share of the water as a broadcaster. But my deal was done. And so I didn't have those apprehensions. The talents did. And they already got a short shelf life, as we know. So they were living through, they were swimming in uncharted waters. And I think that was probably the root of most of the issues. What about my pay? I just bought a new house. I just got a new child, and my wife's really on my ass about what's going on. So I think that's where a lot of that came about. But when Turner bought it, keeping Sting and Steiner was a no-brainer. My God, they're you think about it. Think about it today. If AEW had a chance to sign a young Rick Steiner and a young Sting, my God, you're on the map.
Hey, it's Conrad Thompson. Thanks for checking out the podcast here on YouTube. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell so you get a notice anytime we upload some new content. And go save yourself some money right now. If you're in a 30-year loan or you have credit card debt, it's not a matter of if I can save you money. It's a matter of how much. Find out right now for free at SaveWithConrad.com.